The UnPodcast is brought to you by Emma. Get more from your email marketing.
In a world where QR codes kill kittens and customer service is an oxymoron, one podcast has set out to make things right. This is the UnPodcast with your hosts, Scott Stratten and Allison Kramer.
Are you okay?
I was doing a little dance, and I think I pulled a muscle.
You just hurt yourself doing an Allison impression.
Oh,
like you injured yourself.
The UnPodcast is brought to you by Emma. Get more from your email marketing.
Are you okay? Scott's been running.
Stupid running.
He's a runner now. He's exercising, and so he has muscles that he didn't know he had.
3 weeks.
3 weeks of running.
Help me.
Yeah.
Hurts.
I love that feeling when a muscle sore you didn't know you had. But I'm a glutton for punishment like that. So
I don't even know what the muscle is right now. It's just
That's a terrible feeling.
I love that feeling. I love that feeling. A little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
You know what I realized about running? I didn't think it would be.
What?
I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you love it when it's over,
Yes,
right?
I
Yeah.
do.
I hate it the entire time it's happening. I've said that so many times.
It's
the
the
whole
worst
time I'm
invention
running,
in
I hate
mankind.
it.
I cannot deal with it.
But then when it's over, it's
Done.
just the best feeling in the whole world.
I went to the gym at a hotel.
Yeah.
And I
Twice
went in,
or 3 times now.
Yeah. And I went in and I'm like, you're all much more fit than I. Yeah. You're all like, and then the guy gets on beside you, the treadmill beside you, and just starts sprinting. You're like, easy. Easy. At the Holiday Inn. Just stop your sprints. Just simmer down, son.
You're doing great.
Hey, everybody.
You okay?
Yeah, I'll be okay.
Yeah. Do we need a trainer at the podcast now? We need to have.
I think we need a medic.
Someone
That's
to
what we need.
run
Somebody
out.
with a defibrillator. A little defib in the corner just in case Scott decides to kick it for a minute or two.
All you did was a little Allison
That's all
impression, and that's all it took.
It's all it takes.
Little shoulder shimmy, and you were down
You
for the
don't
count.
realize what it takes to be you.
Oh, no, it must be hard work.
Yeah. You do it all so naturally. It's so many muscles in me and things. It's just, oy. You know, but apparently what it takes to be us is we anger people. One of the things I saw, somebody shared, Michaela, Alexis. So we shared her, that sexist message she got on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You know, she's got a huge LinkedIn following. She shared the episode of the show that we talked about her, and it was great. It was awesome. People started downloading it, and somebody shared it, and then somebody in their commenting somehow wrote, I stopped listening to the UnPodcast because they were very judgmental.
It's true. It's true, though.
I'm judging her comment right now.
Aren't we? That's
That's all you do.
I don't understand. So who wants to tune into a show? Like, this isn't the news. Like, we get news stories, events, business things that are happening, and we give our opinions on them. That's why who are 8 people who are listening, that's why they're here. So
I don't think we're very judgmental. I think we're extremely judgmental.
what's
Right?
higher than very?
Yeah, whatever.
Extraordinarily judgmental.
That. Yeah.
That's the whole show.
Right. And this
So-
this whole show is brought to you by Emma. But go to EmmaIndustryReport.com, like we said last week, for their brand spanking new results of the survey of the industry. Did you know that only 12% of marketers feel like they're always meeting both customer and internal expectations?
I think that sounds a little high.
It does. Last week was low. This week, too high. Too high. And that's the challenge, right? Of if we actually, you and I, if we had jobs and worked for somebody in doing marketing, it's like, that's the two worlds, right? It's the customers and
Yeah.
it's your internal. But the internal is base your paycheck, but the customers make it possible to pay the paycheck. So the struggle is real, as they say. So go and get the industry report there, get more on the data we just told you there. Go there, drop them, give them some info, and then you'll get the whole report.
I was thinking when you said that comment about the judgmental thing, I was thinking about, so we have Unbranding, which is coming out in the fall. And on all the books, we've written kind of like joke testimonials for the back. Because in the first book, we wrote a whole chapter about why book testimonials were fake. So we then could not put real
ever do one,
testimonials
yeah.
on the back of our books. And so I was thinking, like, if the podcast was a book, that person's comment would be the absolute, that would be what we wrote as a testimonial. I stopped listening because they were too judgmental.
We should use that in the ad campaign.
Yeah, that's
That is
that's
gonna be the
exactly
ad
what we
campaign.
would use.
We're going to put a lot of money behind the ad campaign of they're very judgmental.
I stopped listening.
I love it.
How
Yeah.
far you think you got?
Also, I think I want to get, I want to use the one in all caps. Get to the point.
Those are the
That was one of the
testimonials.
comments. Like, get to the point, man. You're rambling. And I'm not
Fantastic.
getting to the point just on purpose now.
So what are we talking about today?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. You go first.
Let's talk Mexico.
All right. Why not? Seems on point.
It's called Spanish, okay?
Attaboy.
Oh, Wayne's on today.
Mexico's politicians campaign hashtag is so wrong, it's perfect.
Oh, I love it.
Javier Zapata is going for, I don't know what he's going for here.
I think it's governor.
might be
Whatever
governor, yeah.
gobernador is.
Governator. Oh, it's like Terminator 7.
The governator.
Okay, so first off, the guy has an epic stash, and
Yeah,
he knows
he's-
it.
he's gorgeous.
He knows he has an epic mustache.
I actually
because he's
love that
actually used it.
mustache. I think it's fantastic.
So his political campaigns are very important opportunities for candidates to show the world what makes them so special. But since everyone hoping to be elected focuses on promoting their skills, beliefs, and the issues they care about, Mexican politician Javier Zapata decided to stand out from his competition by crafting an utterly flawless campaign about his mustache and less than original social media hashtag. The Guardian reports that the gubernatorial candidate is promoting his candidacy via rented billboards, but not just any billboards. In addition to his photograph, the billboards are plastered with his hilarious failure of a campaign hashtag, and the hashtag is hashtag, the sign, and then hashtag campaña. For those who are wondering, that translates to hashtag campaign hashtag.
It's fantastic.
So this is what happened here. I'm assuming we're guessing, but this was. Don't forget, we got to add a campaign hashtag to the billboard.
Yeah,
the guy's
I can't tell if it was if it's
Yeah.
his campaign to be funny, and so like that because it sounds like I can't tell if it was on purpose to be funny.
So they're like, yeah, okay, we'll add hashtag campaign hashtag on it. Like,
Yeah.
so what's to make sure you put a campaign hashtag? Okay, and they put campaign hashtag.
Yeah, like should it be my name or something I stand for? No, let's just go with campaign hashtag.
It's literally hashtag sign campaign hashtag.
It's a brilliant campaign. Hey, we're talking about a politician in Mexico, so
He's got our vote.
It worked.
Yeah, he works. And then, by the way, Netflix.
Yeah, picked up on it, right? In Mexico, I think.
Frank
For
Underwood
the Spanish version of Netflix.
of House of Cards.
Yeah.
Frank and Claire Underwood put hashtag campaign on there for their show.
You know you've made it when you're becoming a House of Cards meme.
I love it. Keep it up, man. Keep it up.
So I have a story from the New York Times, and it says, no, your phone didn't ring, so why is there a voicemail from a telemarketer? Frank Kemp was working on his computer when his cell phone let out the sound of Mario from Super Mario Brothers, collecting a coin. Everyone can imagine that sound. This signaled for him that he had a new voicemail message. So this is his notification for a new voicemail. But he was very confused because his phone hadn't rung. So it was right in front of him the whole time. It says, at first I thought I was crazy, said Mr. Kemp, a video editor in Dover, Delaware. When I checked my voicemail, it made me really angry. It was literally a telemarketing voicemail trying to sell me telemarketing systems. So it says, Mr. Kemp had just experienced a technology gaining traction called ringless voicemail, the latest attempt by telemarketers and debt collectors to reach the masses. The calls are quietly deposited through the back door, directly into a voicemail box, to the surprise and presumably irritation of the recipient, who cannot do anything to block them. Regulators are considering whether to ban these messages. They have been hearing from ringless voicemail providers and pro-business groups, which argue that these messages should not qualify as calls and therefore should be exempt from consumer protection laws that ban similar types of telephone marketing. But consumer advocates, like those on the UnPodcast, technology experts, people who have been inundated with these calls, and the lawyers representing them say such an exemption would open the floodgates. Consumers' voicemail boxes would be clogged with automated messages, they say, making it challenging to unearth important calls, whether they are from an elderly mother's nursing home or a child's school. What do you think about this, Scott Stratten?
It's the worst.
It is the worst, isn't it?
It's the worst. And only lobbying gets this done. It's the worst. I can't even block it. Like, this is my hell.
I just think, so many people hate answering their phones, especially from people they don't know, right? So if you get a phone call, your phone rings, you don't recognize the number.
Yep.
That's one thing that people hate. They hate it. That's why they ignore telemarketers, because they see the number and they hate them. So, you know the only thing they might hate more? Having to check their voicemail to get the message from the telemarketers. That's not going to endear the customer to what you're trying to sell. Why would you go with a more irritating choice?
The only reason I check my voicemail is to get rid of the voicemail notification number on my phone. That's it. I love somebody, I can't remember who it was, has a voicemail message is like, Why are you calling me? Like that's their message. It's great. There's a great TEDx talk we watched a few days ago by TEDx Naperville. It was Roger Anderson, and it's called Telephone Spam Scam Problem, Bring in the Robots. I suggest you guys watch it. He has a great solution to telemarketers. He's programmed a bot to reply with a voice to scammers and keep them on the phone as long as they can. Because that's what costs them money is the humans interacting. Because it's all robo-dialing, right? Until somebody says hello and it recognizes it, then it punches you over to somebody at a call center. It's really good. Yeah, this is it's ridiculous. And no logical person would approve this, but we're not talking about logic here.
Well, the chief executive for Stratix Networks, who did the technology, it says that, so Josh Justice, who's the chief executive of the company that provides this technology, which can send out 100 ringless phone mails in a minute, says that it was developed to create voicemail as a non-nuisance. Yeah, I don't think they understand that this is quite a bit of a nuisance.
He even came up with the term, right? Ringless. Like that's that's the made-up word right there. It hurts my soul. It hurts my soul. It hurts my soul.
You also can't block them, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, that's also the bigger issue. All right, from the more.
From the
dealing
more?
Dealing with spam, not voice spam.
It's this Spamisode.
Instead of ringless, they should call it voice spam.
Voice spam.
That's what it is. A new anti-spam law changes bring more confusion for business owners. This is for us in Canada, so pay attention because it still affects you in the States, just if you have Canadian subscribers as well. Earlier this week, the federal government announced changes to the Canadian anti-spam legislation, the CASL, which is also, by the way, known pretty worldwide as one of the most stringent laws there is for anti-spam. Suspending the private right of action provision that was due to come into effect on July 1st, 2017. The provision would have allowed class action lawsuits to be filed against individuals and organizations for alleged violations of the CASL legislation by sending unsolicited spam, email, text, instant message, Facebook message, and any other commercial electronic message. The government says it will also ask a legislative committee to examine the legislation. Scrapping the class action provision was due in part to a cry from small businesses and charities that were struggling to comply with CASL, fearing fines and lawsuits. With the most draconian provision of this new law off the table, business owners are breathing a sigh of relief. But does it really change what's expected of them? CASL came into effect on July 1st, 2014, confusing business owners and individuals across the country. It dictates that in order to send a commercial electronic message, you need to have consent from the message recipient.
Doesn't sound confusing.
Consent can come from in the form of express or implied.
Oh, implied is confusing.
And the onus is on the individual or business sending the message to keep records of the consent, which type of consent it is, and how it was given. Express consent does not expire, but implied consent does, 2 years after the event that started the relationship. Express consent is easy. Someone signs up for your newsletter on your website, actively opts in to receive messages from you. Implied consent is gray, determined by whether or not the sender of the commercial electronic message and the recipient have a, quote, existing business relationship, such as a transaction, an inquiry, an application, or a written contract for the purchase or barter of products, goods, or services.
So basically, if I buy something from someone, they have 2 years to be able to reach out to me, and then that expires.
Implied consent also includes conspicuous publication and disclosure, meaning the recipient's contact information is published, i.e. listed on the contact page of a website, or given to you, exchanging business cards at a trade show. If an email sender
you made a face.
If an email sender contacts someone under the conspicuous publication or disclosure provisions of implied consent, the message sent must relate to the recipient's line of work. Sound confusing? You bet it is. And scary, too. The penalty for CASL noncompliance could be up to $1 million for individuals and $10 million for businesses. Enough to make a small business owner's blood run cold. So, yeah. It's a law with teeth. It's not a guideline.
Yeah.
That's an important distinction between the two. I'm all for it. I'm all for this class action lawsuit thing that they removed as well. I also understand the concern of business owners. I also hate when somebody gets my information at a trade show, at a networking event.
And adds you to their list.
And adds me to their list. So I get it. But the amount of volume online on the internet in email is 96% spam. Like the amount is it's billions and trillions of messages of spam going around. And something needs to be done. It needs to be stopped by it. And I like our law, and I like that, you shouldn't be able to do that. Just like we have laws for a lot of other things. I think it should be extended to other things. And I don't mind this thing, and we just surpassed 2017. Bot traffic on the internet is more than human traffic. So automated things, traffic-wise, internet. So it's just we're being run by non-humans at this point. And somewhere along this chain, there are humans there. And I just think the problem is with spam and everything, it's so scalable, it's so cheap. People are like, well, why not? If we get 3 customers, then we've made our money back. Well, this is why not. And that's why I like it.
I like it too. I think 2 years is a long time, actually.
It is.
To me, I'm like, if I buy something,
and that's the clause, though, that people don't always pay attention to, is the 2-year part. Yeah.
Because that seems like a long time to me. Because many of the emails I get that I end up like having to go back and unsubscribe and stuff are just because I purchased something. I had to put my email in. And I want to put my email at the beginning because I want to know when my shipment's coming, or I want to be able to get in touch if I have a question. So I want that relationship at the beginning.
Right.
But I don't want the relationship forever.
I get emails from hotels I stayed at, but the individual hotel.
Yeah.
Come back to Delaware, to our hotel. I'm like, it's this weird. I stayed there because it was an event. I'm not planning a vacation around it. So.
Yeah, the implied part is great.
If you're getting a lot of opt-in or re-opt-ins from companies, this is one of the reasons.
That's why.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another spam story. It's from theconsumerist.com. It says Dish Network ordered to pay record $280 million for illegal telemarketing calls. Sure, we say all the time that robot calls are annoying, and agencies like the FTC and FCC talk all the time about how some of them are illegal. But how much trouble does a big company get in these days for actually getting caught making illegal calls? About $280 million, it turns out. That's how much a court has now ordered Dish Network to pay for millions of illegal calls made through 2009, Bloomberg reports. This is not the same case that they had told us about online, where they were ordered to pay more than $60 million. So this is a separate case. Mm-hmm. It says that one, the $60 million one, was a class action lawsuit brought by consumers in North Carolina who received irritating calls. A jury found Dish liable for those calls back in January, and the judge determined that the company should pay $1,200 per person per unwanted call made. This is a different matter, and it has been a long time in the making. The states first sued Dish in 2009, and the most recent phase of the trial began in 2016. And so this law, it says the law stipulates that entities that violate the law can be fined up to $16,000 per violation. With an alleged 55 million violations, that added up to $23.5 billion in total fines and penalties, which is a crazy amount of money.
I see a theme forming in the show.
It says the judge also imposed a 20-year-long telemarketing compliance plan for Dish going forward. See, I like this. I think one of the things about large fines and things in court, and it just may be my ignorance, but I like that this is in the article, that they're saying, okay, so you did all this stuff. You're going to pay everybody however much each. It's going to add up to this huge amount of money. We're going to make an example of you and show what you did. And then now you're also legally bound to this plan going forward. I really like that, because I think that it helps move it into a better space. I think that's important.
Well, because if it's just a fine, and the fine is less than what the revenue is from it, or the profit is from it, then it's not a deterrent.
No, plus they should be enforced to act a certain way after,
correct.
Right? I mean, they've been found guilty of this,
right.
and there needs to be a plan in place of how they're going to change their practices.
Yeah, I have found Emma guilty of stealing my heart. Of stealing my heart and soul, making sure, by the way, you go there to the EmmaIndustryReport.com, the fine sponsors of the show and creators of this earth-shattering report. Check them out. We thank them for the support. I apologize for interrupting you.
That's okay. I was just going to read the last line of the article, which I love. It said, in a statement, Dish said it disagrees with the ruling. Yeah, I wonder.
Somebody paid a lawyer $8,000 for that one line.
We formally disagree.
Thank you.
I don't disagree with Emma. I just wanted to make sure I read that last line of the article. I didn't want to let that gold go to waste.
I formally disagree with Emma. I don't know what about, but I do. Okay.
We have one more story.
Yeah, we got a story. It's a nice story. So we've had a lot of recent
nice
passings of some legends in Hollywood, in the acting world, including Adam West, everybody's Batman, and Roger Moore. My Bond, at least. We did this before, a long time ago. Who's your Batman?
Yeah.
So who's your Bond? Wayne? Who's your James Bond?
Connery.
Connery? Huh? There's no wrong answer here.
Connery is mine, too.
Unless you say Timothy Dalton.
Connery is mine.
Is it yours? But when I say James Bond immediately, whose face? Yeah, you thought too long about it.
I like
you changed your answer.
I like Daniel Craig too.
Agreed.
Connery?
Yeah, I really like Daniel Craig.
Mine's Roger Moore.
I like Roger Moore.
And it's not a judgment of who's best. It's when first time I hear James Bond, it's Roger Moore.
I watched
because that's when I first started watching James Bond. I watched his ones. I've watched none of the Daniel Craig ones, by the way.
I love those
movies. And I've
movies.
never seen a Sean Connery James Bond. So for me,
gosh.
What?
The reason why is because I've only seen him and Timothy Dalton, which I try to forget.
This weekend for Father's Day, I'm locking you in the basement and we're going to watch James Bond movies.
I love Connery.
You fall asleep.
But Sean Connery to me is The Rock.
You got to see him as James Bond.
Like from the movie
I've never seen him as James Bond.
I've only seen him in Highlander and The Rock.
Oh my God.
And also,
Highlander's awesome.
And also The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I like to forget as well.
I watched an amazing documentary about that. Can't remember the gentleman's name, so it's going to sound silly, but there's a documentary right now near the top, near iTunes, about the actor who played James Bond right after Connery, and he only did one movie, which is supposed to be one of the best James Bond movies, like in terms of ratings and critical
his name escapes
acclaim.
me.
And he was like a young guy. He'd never acted before. He was a model, and the documentary is so cool. I think everyone should watch it. Not only is it interesting to hear about this person who had such a unique experience of being after Sean Connery, who invented basically the character of Bond from the books. Like he was the first representation.
Yeah, George Lazenby.
George Lazenby.
Becoming Bond is the name of the movie.
Yeah,
but then, so when he decided not, he made this movie, had this experience, decided not to make any more, and then really was mocked like quite a bit. Kind of became like a meme before there were memes for pull a George Lazenby kind of a thing. And it was the documentary, but the documentary is also cool because it's a documentary of the story of him, and he's interviewed. There's only one interview with him throughout the entire movie, and then they've recreated it like a movie. So they have an actor playing him, and like they act it out. Go watch it. It was very cool.
So the story, this was somebody posted right after Roger Moore had passed away, and this is about yourself and being a human and your quote brand and how you affect people on an individual level when you run into them in places, even unplanned places, and really unplanned things are where you really see somebody's character. So Mark Haynes posted back in May on Facebook the story. He said, as a 7-year-old in about 1983, in the days before first-class lounges at airports, I was with my granddad in Nice Airport and saw Roger Moore sitting at the departure gate reading a paper. I told my granddad I'd just seen James Bond and asked if we could go over so I could get his autograph. My granddad had no idea who James Bond or Roger Moore were. So we walked over and he popped me in front of Roger Moore with the words, "My grandson says you're famous. Can you sign this?" As charming as you'd expect, Roger asks my name and duly signs the back of my plane ticket, a fulsome note full of best wishes. I'm ecstatic. But as we head back to our seats, I glance down at the signature. It's hard to decipher it, but it definitely doesn't say James Bond. My granddad looks at it, half figures out it says Roger Moore. I have absolutely no idea who that is, and my heart sinks. I tell my granddad he signed it wrong, that he's put someone else's name. So my granddad heads back to Roger Moore, holding the ticket which he's just only signed. I remember staying by our seats and my granddad saying, "He says you've signed the wrong name. He says your name is James Bond." Roger Moore's face crinkled up with realization, and he beckoned me over. When I was by his knee, he leaned over, looked from side to side, raised an eyebrow, and in a hushed voice said to me, "I have to sign my name as Roger Moore, because otherwise Blofeld might find out I was here." He asked me not to tell anyone that I've just seen James Bond, and he thanked me for keeping his secret. I went back to our seats, my nerves absolutely jangling with delight. My granddad asked if he'd signed James Bond. No, I said. I got it wrong. I was working with James Bond now. Many, many years later, I was working as a scriptwriter on a recording that involved UNICEF, and Roger Moore was doing a piece to camera as an ambassador. He was completely lovely, and while the cameramen were setting up, I told him in passing this story of when I met him at Nice Airport. He was happy to hear it, and he had a chuckle and said, "Well, I don't remember, but I'm glad you got to meet James Bond. So that was lovely." And then he did something so brilliant. After the filming, he walked past me in the corridor, heading out to his car. But as he got level, he paused, looked both ways, raised an eyebrow, and in a hushed voice said, "Of course I remember our meeting in Nice, but I didn't say anything in there because those cameramen, any one of them could be working for Blofeld." I was as delighted at 30 as I had been at 7. What a man. What a tremendous man.
I love that story.
I
Makes
love
me
it
so
too.
happy.
I love it too. Let's do a made-up word.
Okay.
Made up word. don't make any sense. Don't mean no offense. It brings laziness. What is all this craziness?
Our made-up word is a feature of the week we do every week. A word you run across and go, what? What happened here? Why would you make a word like this? Usually a combination of two words. What's the term for that?
I don't know.
A parabel pantomime? What's the word that you take two words and go, anyway.
Conjunction.
Well, ooh, look out! We got a fancy guy back behind the board here. All right, I'll go with that.
I think so. I mean, I'm no English
Don't
major.
worry. Don't worry, by the way. Somebody will correct us when they hear the episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they always do.
You want to get download, say something wrong. This is from Denny. And by the way, you send your word, we will send you a book of your choice. Denny sends us, and he says, Voluntold. 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 Wayne.
Volunteered information, like somebody telling you something you did.
Wayne says it's volunteered information, somebody telling you something, yes?
Adam's going to know what it is.
Volunteer for something you're told.
Adam
knows.
You're being volunteered for something, but you're being told to do it. That's what it is. Denny says, I was recently voluntold in a meeting I was taking on a new internal project. I was told I was volunteering my time to get it done. Oh, Denny, we feel so bad for you. So if you send your word, by the way, same thing, Twitter, Facebook, unmarketing.com, contact form, email, whatever you got. See us in the street. Tell us the word. We will send you book of your choice from any of our wonderful books or the new Unbranding coming out in October, 100 of branding lessons in the age of disruption. Drop us a line anytime. We will get it over to you. We got a question?
I do. I have a
Sweet.
question of the week from you. It's from John Van Camp. John says, I'm a radio guy.
I love that name, by the way.
I know. He sounds like a radio guy.
He does.
John Van
This
Camp.
is John Van Camp.
Yeah.
Love
I'm
it.
a radio guy.
Kill it.
Says, how effective do you think 10-minute commercial blocks are for advertisers on radio stations? Here in the U.S., we've taught the audience over the past 4 decades that commercials are bad. And so stations bury them into 2-minute long miserable bury them into 2 long and miserable blocks per hour. And to try and hide them, right? They put off the commercials. So he's curious to see if you think this is effective for the advertiser, and why would an advertiser pay to have their message handled this way?
Yeah, it's the weird thing. 1 second. This show is brought to you by Emma. Go to the EmmaIndustryReport.com to download your report.
Some podcasts do this too, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, but that's back in the day of radio, and there's certain times of the hour and the half hour, they would all go to commercial break. So if you skip stations, they all had commercials, right? They're all getting together in cahoots saying, don't worry, let's make this work. We've been programmed that half-hour shows are actually 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And hour shows are 48 minutes. And that's how it worked. And we're realizing now we've now shifted. We don't want the commercials. We never did, unless it's the Super Bowl or movie trailers. We never wanted commercials. TiVo proved that years ago when it came out. Skipping the commercials led to millions of units being sold on that function alone, pretty much. The ability to, when we see a commercial now, or we hear one, if we listen to radio or watch regular TV, you're like, what? What's happening? It's a jarring experience. And we've shifted to paying for the content on a subscription basis, on a Netflix basis, on a Spotify basis, on a Sirius XM satellite radio basis. The problem is, what's the solution? I think radio needs to do that. I do think it doesn't matter whether or not it's good or not. You have to. If you're in a classical signal-based radio, you need to sell ads on the show because that's how the show stays on the air, and that's the problem. But I do like taking some of the techniques of podcast success when it comes to this and putting those back into radio. As an example, like we've used before, like Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast, where he talks about the sponsors, which it's commercials, but they're sponsors. It's just commercials.
But
in his
it's
own
like
voice.
a live read, and there's some character to it.
And most radio shows don't do that. They just
No.
play the commercials because the brand wants to control. Well, this is the problem. I loved Bill Burr's ads.
Yeah.
They're killer. They wouldn't be on regular radio because of
No,
the,
but you could have the same thing
Yeah.
with a different spin, right?
For sure.
You can still have the voice of the person doing the radio show
And
allowed to
ESPN
have
Radio does
effect.
that well. The
Yeah.
Subway takes hotline and all this. Like they do that. They work it in pretty well. It's
Yeah.
product placement kind of stuff. But if we take some of the lessons of where it can work, because I don't mind listening to those ads on
Yeah.
bills. I actually can't wait what he's going to say about MeUndies and Sherry's Berries. Listen, I know
You know the brand.
I know the brands that sponsor his show
Sherry's Berries.
because he works them so well.
Strangely, not the same company.
No, but you could leave Sherry's Berries in MeUndies. Yes, exactly. But that think about that for a second. We probably listened to total 20 of episodes of his show.
Yeah.
They're burned in my head.
Yeah.
That is successful advertising to me. But you have to be able to allow the voice of the show to use their voice. And that's where the brands come into fault. And I'm not blaming them because they want to protect their brand's integrity and everything else. But look, if you're going to, the reason why Bill Burr gets so many people is because he's crude and he's hilarious. And he's going to do that to your brand.
I think it's a mutual lack of respect. Like the radio station knows that they need the advertising, but they don't really want to do the advertising, or they'll sell advertising to anyone.
Right.
They're not
Yeah.
picky about who's
Yeah.
coming on. They're not picking necessarily products that really fit in or that things that they can actually say something about because they use the product. And then the brand on the other side isn't respecting. They're just whoever has the most numbers or whoever they can afford, instead of really trying to find the right medium to put their stuff. And if you have that mutual respect, then you get what you see on Bill Burr. Like then you get a commercial. Yes, it's paid for, but it also has the character of the product and the media platform together. And I think that's what you see.
That's the one thing I really hated when we were with CBS.
Yeah.
Is they inserted ads into our show post-production, and they were just jarring.
Yeah, very jarring.
And they
not
were
fit.
louder, and they didn't
well.
fit the show. And that hurt our listenership. That hurt because it didn't, a huge part of our brand, right, is telling it like it is. And then that happens, and it hurt I know it hurt the show. So
Thank you, John, for your question.
great question, John. So you as well get a book of your choice. Let us know.
I hear they're all really good.
I heard they're all fantastic. And if you want to send us a question, please do on the Facebook page, the question, whatever else you want to do, and we'll be happy to try to answer it. If you get picked, we will send you one of those things as well. That's all for today. Go outside. It's summer, for crying out loud.
Thanks, guys.
Unless you're in Australia, then winter? I don't know. Whatever.
Bye.
Bye.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and visit theunpodcast.com. And remember, friends don't let friends use QR codes.